All right, everyone, we're back in the onsen. A bit longer of a break than we were planning on, but here we are. I'm your host, Mazo, joined by co-host Nexus. Hey, and special guest NBT.
In the onsen.
Yeah, in the onsen. Okay. So today the topic we're going to tackle has to do with the primary focus here is the current state of the world, which everyone loves to talk about. The world's on fire, inflation's out of control, nobody has any money. But how is that affecting you and your hobbies? What things are your local government, foreign governments doing that are screwing you out of it, having fun and enjoying what you like to enjoy? To kick us off, I'm gonna go on ahead and pass this one off to NBT. What is your world of hobbies like now with the way things are?
I guess the most is kind of like the cost of traveling, and just overall just staying in another country, like the exchange rate and things like that, I guess.
Okay, I mean, like, it's interesting that you say that because, you know, our focus here is Japanese music, Japanese rock, JROCKnews.com. He said the title. But, you know, we have more tourists here in Japan than ever. Like, it's record highs, and prices here are crazy for everything. Food prices just don't stop going up. But somehow, I don't know if it was people who were just saving during the lockdowns, but now it's just like an explosion of tourists, ruining everything, but there's still an explosion of tourists, and seemingly these people who have all this exposable income, but I feel like I don't. I'm going to fewer shows. I'm doing less. I go to shows pretty often, but it feels like it's less than it could be. And that's why I kind of wanted to ask you about it.
I feel like it's because you no longer receive your monthly salary in freedom dollars anymore. And that's the biggest issue for you. Because if you live in the US, you probably have a pretty good exchange rate from dollars to Japanese yen. And that is not the same for where I live in Sweden. So the exchange rate to Japanese yen isn't that bad, but like it's not as wait, how pronounce
advantageous.
It's not it's not it's not as advantageous exchanging from yen. So in my case, there's no real benefit. But if there has been an inflation for everything, including in Japan, then it basically means that prices increased for me as well.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. But, like, have you seen an effect on your actual hobbies rather than just, like, the economy? Like, are you buying less music, be it digital or you never buy physical from what we know? But, like, are you going to fewer shows? Like, what's going on?
No, I actually, like, any show that I can get my hands on here in Sweden, I basically go to them. For me, it hasn't really affected it. I mean, it depends on your living situation, but for me, it hasn't changed too much. But I am probably more kind of like think a lot more when I spend money. But I'm also like trying to be a minimalist, so I don't really purchase too much like physical goods in general.
Yeah, I still remember when you entered your minimalist era. That was very interesting, but that's besides the point. Well, you know, it seems like you're all right, so maybe I'm complaining for nothing. But what about Nexus? What are you feeling? Are you feeling the heat?
So I low-key feel that the chief difference here is that some of us are poorer than others. I guess if you have less disposable income overall, it's going to, as I would put it, fuck you harder. And then I guess it's about prioritizing, because first of all, I'm generally delighted that there's at least finally concerts to be salty about not having money for. Because as we have all noticed, for like 4 years, there was just about fuck all when it comes to Japanese music in Europe because of the plague and all that. So I'm glad there's stuff to go to now. And I will go to it. It's just that I have to cut way more corners than I would have had to before the plague, and that saddens me. And I really hope that it doesn't keep going to like the point where I and not even cutting corners will cut it anymore.
Can you explain what your
Yeah.
cutting corners technique are?
Well, usually the first thing to go is your other hobbies. That a lot of the stuff that you spend freedom dollars on, because if, as you said, Maza has the disadvantage of no longer receiving a salary in freedom dollars. But for some of us who live in poorer countries that have shitty exchange rates against the freedom dollar, if you're using your own poor country currency to purchase stuff that would have been in freedom dollars, you're more screwed than you would have been before. So yeah, but like if there's JROCK concerts, you just neglect your other hobbies for a while. Then you definitely start neglecting healthy diets because have you been to the store? Do you know how much vegetables cost or fruit?
I don't even know what
frankly,
those words mean.
Yeah,
What's
it doesn't
fruit?
mean that
What's
well.
vegetable?
Yeah, isn't fruit like ridiculously expensive in Japan? Like has always been.
I don't know. I only ever buy bananas because I like
Oh.
bananas. Their shape, their flavor.
It's true.
It's
It is
undeniable.
true.
But like
But both vegetable and fruits are expensive in Japan.
That's so interesting.
yeah, I don't know. I'm used to, I've been here a while now. Not as long as some of our other writers and members, but like I'm used to the American way of produce, and here it's a little bit different. Like a lot of times you just pay like a flat rate for the piece of produce, the vegetable or fruit. I walk past them and I go, oh, that would be nice. But at the same time, I just never really buy anything other than every now and then I'll get a couple bananas. I'm like, yeah, this seems a little expensive, but then I take exchange rate into consideration. It's not too bad. I mean, a banana here and there isn't gonna break the bank.
But okay,
I
so
really
this might be a bit of a like. Did you use in America? Did you used to buy like fruits and vegetables to begin with?
I used
So
to
you are
buy
able to
like
compare.
these like bagged salad kits pretty often, and I remember experiencing those go up in price before I came back to Japan. But yeah, other than that, like when I'd make Japanese curry rice, I'd buy like an onion and potato and carrots or a lot of onions.
Okay,
actually.
I don't think you're probably not the like ideal person to ask
Definitely
regarding
not,
the-
man. I only eat once a day, and like, yeah, like asking me about food prices, I'll just be like, things have bigger number now, but still got my bananas.
But do you do that to save money or for other reasons?
Nah, other
Okay.
yeah. I mean, like, I was at the convenience store yesterday because I was hanging out with my.
I digress.
All right.
I digress, man.
You decided to ask me about fruit and vegetables in Japan. I mean, I'm not an authority on it, and I'm not an authority on food in general because I'm a weirdo when it comes to it.
I'm sorry, Nexus.
I have an idea of how to get back on topic, and that is that I've definitely gone the way of NBT and kind of low-key stopped purchasing physical goods when it comes to Japanese music and stuff. Except then I turned up at the DIR EN GREY concerts and I bought out half the merchandise booth because listen, here's the thing about that, okay? I don't really shop for clothes all that much anymore because the longer you live, the more clothes you kind of accumulate and accumulate. And then you don't have to buy clothes as often. And I haven't bought clothes in a while because that's another thing I cut corners at. And if you buy band T-shirts, those still count as T-shirts. You can wear that. So that
100%.
counts as clothes shopping, 2 in 1. So yeah, now I have increased the percentage of DIR EN GREY merchandise in my wardrobe. So that's nice.
Well, the question from my perspective as a minimalist is that do you really need that much clothes to begin with?
No.
Yes, in a way, because here's the thing. I dress like an anime character, in which I wear like the same damn outfit all the time. I just change the print on the t-shirt. And so I at least want to
It's not the
try
same
to
clothes
vary.
then. You're still wearing
It's
something
the
else.
same pants. It's the same pants. It's the same shoes. It's the same jacket. It's the same accessories. Same bracelets. Same everything but the t-shirt.
I mean, variety.
But then you don't need
is
that
the
much
spice of
clothes.
life.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna argue that buying clothes is bad or anything like that, because I don't personally care about other people's habits. But it's more like some people feel like they really need more clothes when they don't.
Yeah.
that they might have to reflect on.
Yeah, no,
not
I
even,
mean,
like, one of those, like,
Nexus,
fast
go ahead.
fashion people. Sorry. I'm like not even one of those fast fashion people. Like I barely buy clothes ever. It's probably literally just the band t-shirts that I buy when I'm at concerts. Because listen, when are you gonna get that? They sell that for the tour. It's like a limited tour good. And it's not something that's gonna sit on your shelf, right? Or like a poster that you're gonna put on the wall and it doesn't have much use. You wear it. So it's technically like the most value for your buck when it comes to merch, because like you wear it, you know?
Yeah, I don't
something you put
disagree
on
with
your
that. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But for me personally, me personally, basically replaced all my clothes to like single colored one and all like dark colors. So now
Oh, you're
I
like
don't
really a
ever
minimalist
have.
build.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
don't. I never have to think about what to wear. So it's always basically the same clothing. So I don't
Oh God,
ever need to buy any new clothes either.
he's doing a Steve Jobs. Oh God.
Yeah. I mean, when you were starting your transition, I remember you posted some images, or like you wanted to know if anyone wanted like some secondhand like band merch and stuff, and I was just like, whoa. Like, I appreciate the dedication, man. I think that's awesome, but at the same time, I'm sitting here like I could do that if I really wanted to, but I don't want to. It feels weird.
Yeah, it
I
felt
couldn't. That
weird
would
to
make me
begin with. Yeah,
like
there's
I
some
cannot.
clothes still haven't gotten rid of. For example, I have some Gazette shirts and
Oh,
also yeah. So
Oh man, yeah.
get rid of my Gazette shirts and also the hoodies. So basically the only hoodies I still have. Oh yeah, and I also have a Hatsune Miku hoodie.
Oh yeah, you can't get rid of the Miku stuff, man. You're talking about Miss Hatsune herself.
He's a,
Oh
he's a
yeah,
fake
actually,
minimalist. He hasn't even ditched his Miku stuff.
Hey man.
yeah. But the minimalism is that just that I have the a limited number of clothing. That's the minimalism. It's not about what's on the shirt or anything like that, on what's printed. But I did give
Well,
Then
this
wouldn't
away
that it
definition
multiple.
is
made
real
more?
flexible, isn't it?
Okay, a real
But
actual question.
okay.
Wouldn't it make more sense then to just keep the band merch you already own? Because I guess that minimalism, you're already making use of whatever the fuck, and you're not buying anymore. And then when it falls apart, you toss it, I guess. Or
No, the other part is that you don't have to think about what to wear. Same, essentially.
how much do you think about it when you're putting on a band shirt? It's a black shirt. It's just something on it.
Whoa. It's not always black.
But
I
the
only
idea
have
is
black
that
ones.
if you have different print, you're still gonna like think about like, okay, like, and you want to represent that day. I mean, maybe not you, but like probably like most people would think about it at least. But I
Yeah,
did give
I guess.
away a lot of my Hatsune Miku t-shirts. I had a bunch of them. So when I went to a convention, I essentially gave it away to some other Hatsune Miku fans.
That's interesting.
Like,
Like, I understand it.
I
but,
would
like, that's
expect you to
interesting.
sell it.
Yeah, but because I couldn't like bear the idea of like just throwing them away. Like
Yeah.
that wasn't possible.
Yeah. You
Sell
gotta
it.
make sure it goes into capable hands.
Yep.
But just imagine how you would make somebody's day if, like, so one day they walk into a random secondhand store, like, and there's just Hatsune Miku t-shirts in there.
But how do you know?
I feel like
what's
in
gonna
Sweden
happen?
at least, like in Sweden, it wouldn't be that appreciated. Probably, like not a lot of people would buy it.
Oh, they hate Miku
Really?
in
Like
Sweden.
I know like
No.
4 Hatsune Miku fans, and all of them are Swedish.
I know one,
Okay.
and he's Swedish.
Yeah,
I like meatballs.
Yeah.
I
and
like
IKEA
trains.
and whatever.
Well, all right. We pulled on this thread quite a bit, harassing
Sorry.
NBT for his minimalist lifestyle. But the topic at hand is talking about how you're being prevented from enjoying your stuff. And one of the things that ties into this a little bit, unfortunately, this podcast no longer has anyone living in the US as a host, but in the US, it's slowly becoming harder to see your favorite artists, regardless of what country they're from, as long as it's not the US. And that's because of, not only the state of things, but also because of like recent changes in visa applications. I still remember not even that long ago, we talked about, who was it? It was Cold Rain or one of the other ones. I always get them confused because to me, musically, they sound very similar. But we had an article where we had the band holding an American flag, and there was some issue with visa applications and stuff. And now there's more visa issues where the prices are skyrocketing.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy right now in the US, because they changed the pricing starting April 1st of this year. So before it was like $460, but now it's like 1,600 plus. Like it's above 1,600 for each application. So if you're a band, you have to do that times like each member plus every staff member as well. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I can already see like, we talk about the European tour that always comes before the US tour that sometimes spells the end of a band, and I don't know why it does, but it seems like it does, and it could be pricing. But then sometimes the bands then go on to tour in the US, and I can't imagine that we're going to be seeing smaller bands being able to tour the US as often as they used to now, with that being such a massive roadblock of just a massive amount of money that they have to pay.
So the money is, of course, an issue. But what's even worse is that if your application gets denied, you don't get any refunds on top of that.
Fantastic.
So it's a bet. It's a bet. That is crazy. I think it's gonna break the band if it doesn't get through, and even if they tour, it's not gonna make the band. So there's no make or break. It's just like a bet in the whole thing.
I mean, what is a tour other than exposure and a shot at trying to make as much money as possible through merch sales and random album sales while you're there?
Yeah, but the money you're making while you're there is usually just trying to make back the tour expenses.
You want
So
to make back the
actually
tour
lose money.
expenses and hope that the exposure then, down the road ends up being like, the return on your investment. Hopefully you pay off what you invested, but it's also like a big opportunity to just try and make as much as possible off of these fans that are going through a dry spell of content from you as the artist. Because as we know, as you mentioned before with your, shirt buying, I don't know, mentality or attitude, it's limited merch. It's for this tour. Yeah. You're not gonna really be able to easily get it, 6 months after the tour is over. You're not gonna get it a year after that tour is over. You can wear your old tour shirt from 20 years ago, but, it's not gonna feel the same as getting the one like, yeah, I was at that one.
Yeah, that's the exact tour mentality for sure. Thank you for spelling that out better than I did, actually.
It's okay. English is my second language.
To add another layer to kind of the gamble aspect to it, it's also that usually you don't really have an idea when you're gonna get your approval back. So a lot of the bigger artists, they will pay additional for each application to get expedited. And for each application, if you want to get it expedited, it costs like around $3,000 more per application.
Is that wait, this 3,000 expedition fee, is that new? Like in the past when the price was lower, was it still 3,000, or did that fee go up too?
My assumption is that it that much before, at least. That's my assumption. The article that I read before didn't specifically mention that.
That's really interesting, because if it was lower before, we're not talking about nickels and dimes. We're not talking about a few dollars. But if the price to expedite was 3,000, the original price drops in the bucket. Like, I don't see it as that much of a massive issue. It's a big issue. It's terrible, but it's not world ending the way a $3,000 expedition fee is.
But that's per person.
Yes, that's per person, and like, you're doing that per person. An extra 1,000 on top of that is not, in the grand scheme, not really that much compared to an extra 400.
Wait, I'm not sure if you're getting the numbers correct, because it's so okay. For one person, it's around 1,600.
Yes, which was before like 400, almost 500.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna round up the numbers. When I said 3,000, it was actually 2,805, but I'm just gonna say 3,000.
Okay.
So for one person, it's 1,600, and then if you wanted to process it even quicker, you have additional 3,000.
Yes, that additional quick process fee of 3,000. If that has not changed, the jump from 500 to almost 2,000 now, I don't feel it's as heavy as I did before I knew the cost of the expedition fee.
The whole thing about this of how imagine for a small band needing to pay $3,000 extra per application, it's probably not feasible for them. So what this means is that only artists that are big enough,
well established,
are able to, well established, are able to even tour the US. So imagine that a Visual-kei band that has not as much fans as a established one, that's just not feasible for them to tour.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's definitely not feasible for them to tour if they're planning to expedite.
Yeah, exactly. Well, even if you don't expedite it, I think it's quite a hefty amount.
I mean, I think there's a lot with that's kind of up in the air from my perspective. Like, how long would it take if you didn't expedite? You're talking about multiple people. How long could the gap be between multiple people? How early could you apply? With these tours and stuff, we're not just talking about visa applications getting approved and then going. You're talking about reserving venues, getting a schedule for the bus or whatever method of transportation you're going to use to get the band from point A to point B, C, D, E, F. So there's definitely a lot of other things in the planning. I can see it messing with that. So if expediting is essential, and expediting guarantees a certain window of time, I feel like everyone just has to do that. And then with that, the extra, we're talking an extra 600 drops in the bucket, if you ask me. I'm not saying it's not going to affect smaller bands or even medium-sized bands as much as, not having that there would, but it's still, to me, drops in the bucket at the end when you're talking with these massive amounts of money.
But basically, if you want any kind of tangible proof of the effects of this, you can already see so I don't know exactly if the reasoning is a visa for example Notsis, Rio's band, formerly in Crystal Lake. He had to cancel his US tour, and also Survive Said the Prophet also canceled at first one of their shows. I think I forgot if it was the entire tour of the show, but they rescheduled it, and that was related to the visa problem. And what was something else? Another band also recently had to cancel the tour in the US due to visa problems. So there's a bunch of them that have been affected recently because of these price increases.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
I
visa
mean-
problems are very. It feels like it's got. I don't know if it was always this bad or if it's gotten worse recently. I do recall a while ago. I think it was Sugizo that had the problem with getting his visa denied when X Japan were trying to perform in the US, but that was probably a few years back. It's been a while. Do you remember that?
No.
I do
No,
like-
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah,
But it's
I don't
like
know.
one of the things is that when it comes to like visa approval and stuff like that, it appears that it's largely left up to the discretion of the person that's approving your application. And if they don't approve it, they'll well, fuck your $3,000, I guess. And by
Yeah.
extension, fuck your band after that. Because imagine paying all that for like, what, 4 or 5 members and then you get denied. And it would be one thing if you had to pay that much for like, for getting it, right? Like you're basically quote unquote ensuring buying the visa or whatever, but that's just the application fee. And then if you get denied,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's a major issue. I think if the application's denied, not even a partial refund in any way. Yeah, like that really changes my stance, I guess. I think it's really screwed. Any amount it goes up or down, it could be, $2. That sucks because if it gets denied for whatever reason, which could be some nonsense thing like the guy reviewing your thing just happened to not feel like it that day, that's gone. When the possibility of up and it's gone is there, then yeah, any amount I think is outrageous.
so apparently what I'm learning, if you keep up with YouTube, you'll know the thing that happened to the Moist Esports team that was trying to get into the US to play, and they when you're in the US, I think as like a sports team or whatever, it's also a very specific type of visa. I don't know how it relates to the artist visa, if it's different or not, but yeah, basically, if they like deny you for reasons that you feel like are bullshit, you can sue for them to like approve it, but you don't actually even get the money back. What you can get out of it is that they will approve it, I guess. But you don't. If you had to cancel your tour for that reason or stuff like that, you don't even get damages or anything. It's just great.
Yeah.
So basically, like in short, like there's not gonna be any like smaller, less established band in Japan that will even tour the US with this.
Yeah, if you're not like DIR EN GREY, who even it looks like even for the European tour that they went on just recently, it looked like they were cutting a lot of corners just to get there, like Shinya playing on like rented drums or whatever and renting what they could, stuff like that. I think they each only traveled with a single suitcase to like cut costs on that. But if you're not like a large band that already has like the option for that investment, you can't do it. It's literally prohibitively expensive or too much of a risk if you don't get approved.
Yeah, recently I also went to the DIR EN GREY show in London, and we spoke to Kaoru there, the guitarist of DIR EN GREY, and even he said that things were expensive there, and the stage set, like the things that we were expecting there to be on stage, maybe like to add to the atmosphere, it wasn't really there, and that was due to like the logistics reasonings, and also, I mean, related to the cost. And he also mentioned that he recently started like collecting whiskey and things like that, but he doesn't really buy them even when he's like on tour here. Because the price is still cheaper if he buys them in Japan. Like there's such an effect that even established bands have difficulties to tour. I mean, this is we're also talking about a European tour right now, and it's not even the US. So the whole thing is probably related to like exchange rate and like how everything is more expensive in general.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Don't even talk like also just the plane tickets after the plague shot up insanely.
Well, with
Yeah.
in regards to that, I mean, my personal experience, like as soon as Japan was allowing people to come in as workers again, that's pretty much when I came back. And yeah, my ticket was kind of outrageous at that time. It was like twice the price that it was the first time. And now they've gone down. Like, it always depends on travel time and everything, but part of the reason it was so high at that time was because there were very few airlines even going to and from Japan, because the only people traveling were basically traveling for business. Nobody was vacationing at that time. But as things have opened up more, there have been more airlines added, more flights and everything, and that's kind of started to even out now. I just went to the States a few weeks ago, and it was still more than it was like 5 years ago, but it was not outrageous. So yeah, I feel like it's, it's kind of like when it's conspiracy theory territory and everything, but when the airlines weren't making the money they needed to make, the government came and bailed them out. And then when they got bailed out, they just kept the prices the same. They kept everything moderately outrageous, and it just kept getting higher and higher because they knew, well, the people who want to fly will pay that much to do it. So why should we change now that we're not struggling anymore? We can just make more. So it's in my opinion, it's kind of the same thing in effect, where the airlines that were operating during Corona, they kept as close to those prices as they could, trying to min-max, try and figure out the most profit they could make without losing the price that they were at during the pandemic. I feel like that's exactly what we're seeing now, and it's never going to go back down to what we were used to, and it's just going to keep going up anyway. And that's going to hurt small artists, big artists. It's going to hurt it, as we see, it's going to hurt big artists.
Yeah, definitely.
Sad stuff, man. Things are just going to keep going up. I mean, unfortunately, it comes into geopolitical territory, but does anyone see this going in any other direction? What do you think is going to be the future for tours, for you, for your favorite bands? What do you think's going to happen? Let's start with Nexus.
And I'm a doomer by nature. I don't really I don't really expect this to get all that much better. Not to get political or anything, but especially with the situation in Europe going the way it's going, it could get worse. I feel like that's actually what if there wasn't the plague, that's probably what could keep some people from getting to see their favorite musicians. I imagine it must suck a good bit not really get concerts anymore, because there used to be concerts for like every big tour, especially for DIR EN GREY and stuff. Now we didn't get that, so that's not good. But yeah,
probably
for them.
As you were saying with the airlines that kind of raised their prices during and after the plague, and then just kept them moderately outrageous, because why would they lower them? People are paid anyway. The raising prices of everything, I feel like it's, well, why would we lower it? People are gonna pay it anyway. So it's not getting better anytime soon. Eventually, it's probably going to price out any smaller bands from touring, like, for good, because I low-key feel like when you're a smaller band, you definitely do a European tour for exposure, and you don't even hope to like break even. That's just a money sink, and you hope to make your investment back with like gaining new European fans or like scratching it off your bucket list. And eventually they probably won't be able to do that anymore. They already can't do that for America because of what we talked about before. So I'm just hoping to get a few good years out of it, and hope it doesn't get too bad.
Well,
it
doesn't get any better. Also, it's not like because in Japan also, like the bands or the artists there, they typically are pretty like satisfied with like the amount of people they reach within the domestic market already. So for a band to actually want to tour abroad to begin with is quite, I wouldn't say unusual, but it's still like ambitious.
Yeah. It's ambitious, but I mean the whole thing about being an artist is, you know, not the whole thing, but a big part of being a musician is getting fans and turning your passion into a career, is making money from it. And the only way to do that is through exposure, through putting the work in, doing tours, doing shows, putting out good music. But again, we went through a really weird period in this world where nobody was supposed to be leaving their house. And artists, a lot of artists got through it all through online means, essentially. We started seeing more live stream shows, some of them with zero audience in attendance live, just literally a band in a live house with no audience performing to the net. So, like, you know, net performances or whatever, maybe those will come back in some way. Maybe we'll start to see artists turn to that the way they were before, because that scene kind of died out from everything I can tell. But maybe things will get better, but I don't see this visa thing getting better for the US, but maybe prices in general can get better in some way. Maybe certain countries' economies will recover in some ways. We can hope for that, or we can just hope that there will be some decent alternatives.
Yeah, my kind of solution to all this is that we can all become Hatsune Miku fans, and then we install like one of these holograms in every country, and Hatsune Miku can play every day in every country at the same time.
I don't like that.
Listen, bro, I like VTubers, but Hatsune Miku is a bit like too fictional for me.
You can add VTubers there as well. It's just a hologram kind of screen. Like you can just put anything there.
I mean, I'm still very, as little as I use my VR, I'm still like a really strong advocate for implementing VR in some way. Like, put a guy in the crowd with a helmet on, with a 360 camera on it, and then just upload that later. Like, let someone have that experience.
I don't know, man. I don't really like the current state of VR, at least.
It's clunky and uncomfortable, but it's what we have. And unless we get more adopters and more investment, it's not going to get that much better. And the only way we're going to get more people adopting and investing is by making things that people want, instead of just making thing that guy at the top felt like doing.
I guess 10 years down the line, DIR EN GREY are just gonna like directly beam themselves in VR to Europe, so they don't have to actually come.
There's no reason why they can't. I mean, it's sci-fi territory, but there's no reason why they can't have some kind of, you know, technology that lets them basically like video conference into a venue, and we have a projection of them on that stage. They have like a replica of it in some studio in Sendai. I don't know why I chose Sendai, but you know, they do a live performance and they can maybe see the audience too and actually interact with them as if it was a real in-person show, but it's remote.
Yeah, I actually don't know how I would feel about that. Like,
I don't think there's too many problems with it. Also, you solved the issue of people throwing their shoes at artists. That happened at the Sim show in LA recently. Somebody threw a shoe at them. And then I had a friend who was at the show. He was VIP, but somebody threw a shoe up there. And then I forget the drummer's name. I know their names, but I forget whose name is whose. But anyway, the drummer threw the shoe back into the audience, and somebody caught the shoe and thought it was the drummer's shoe and was like so excited. I don't think he found out until maybe after the show, but he was like, I got his shoe. But like that's been a thing, that people are throwing stuff at artists. Like, you can think of imagine if
massive. People have been throwing stuff on stage since like forever, but it's always been shit like, I don't know, brass and flags, not shoe.
No. People throw their phones as well.
Yeah, they've been throwing their phones as of late. Water bottles have been a thing for a little bit now. But like, the phones is like, oh, take a picture and throw it back.
Exactly.
That's
That's
dumb.
crazy. Why would you reason with that?
That's so
That is
dumb.
literally so stupid. First of all, what is break? Second of all, huh?
Yes, right? But apparently, it was something I was listening to, and it was a really interesting quote. It was think of the dumbest person you know, and like the average person, you know, people you don't interact with day to day, is probably about there.
But to steer away from this negativity, let's bring in some other kind of negativity. For you, Maso, now that you're in Japan and everything should be more accessible for you, like how are you not able to enjoy your hobbies now that you're in Japan and everything should be like at hand's reach?
Yeah, that's super interesting. I don't. I'm definitely not going to big shows like ever. I'm planning to go to one of the stadium or arena shows eventually, but that's the thing. When there is a show for a bigger band out here, they're even bigger here than they are internationally. So, like, last time I saw Miyavi, I was like 4 people away from the front. It was a like normally priced ticket. I don't remember exactly because it was a long time ago, but I wouldn't say more than like 50 USD. And I was right there, like in this tiny room. Like if I really wanted to, I could have reached out to him, but I have sense and I didn't throw my shoes. So like that's super cool, and I paid a reasonable amount for it. But if I want to see Miyavi in Japan, I'm gonna pay like 5 times that amount.
Why didn't you throw your phone instead?
Didn't I just say
Doesn't
I'm
that
a
make more
reasonable
sense?
person? But like if I want to see Miyavi in Japan, I can much more easily because like he'll be doing stuff here more often. But I'm gonna end up in like some seat in some stadium where I'm locked in this one position the whole time, unless I want to pay even more of a premium to be a little bit closer, and then there's all that other stuff involved. So I can attend more events, but in order to get an experience that can parallel what I got abroad or back home, I pay more. And not just more because of inflation and everything and the state of everything, but more also because I have more competition amongst the fans of people who want that.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean because I I've been to like all of the baby metal shows in Sweden, and one of them they played in arena, but they were, I probably mentioned this before already, but they were playing as the opening act. So I mean, the main band who like rented out the whole arena, they had that kind of capacity of fans to
Yeah.
fill out the arena in Sweden, but not baby metal. So baby metal got the chance to play in Sweden at a larger venue than they would normally be in. And when I watched that show, it did not feel like as exciting as when I saw them in a smaller venue because
Yeah,
you're so
definitely.
damn far away. So you're basically just watching a screen, and like, I can do that at home instead.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'll never go to Rennie Alpha again, because the way it's set up, unless you get there at a specific time and end up at a specific part of the venue, you're going to be watching the screen the whole time, which has like a full second delay. But like, yeah, that's exactly how I look at it. I don't see myself anytime soon being a stadium show guy. Like, I still like small live houses. There are plenty of excellent bands that are still playing small lives, and there will hopefully always be plenty of small bands playing at the small venues, because that's just the way the scene works. Eventually they'll get big, and maybe they'll get big. and then they'll start playing bigger shows, but that's when we part ways. I'll buy your album if I really liked your stuff, but I'm probably not going to see you live anymore.
So ironically, do you feel like you're missing out now that you're in Japan in that sense?
Specifically for DIR EN GREY, yes. Yeah, for DIR EN GREY, yes. For Sim, yes. But a lot of the smaller bands I want to go see, or like some of the other random stuff I'm getting to do now, it's awesome. Like, my main thing right now is, as I've mentioned a couple times, is Underground Idols, just because of how violent those shows can get. That's not something that would like ever happen in the U.S. Like, one of the groups went to New York one time, but that was a whole fiasco, and that's another story. But it's not really something that's gonna happen that often. If some of these smaller groups do go to the States, sometimes it's like as a guest for like an anime expo or something like that, and then you're still like basically a stadium show. Like, when I saw Yosei Teikoku, I was very lucky that our contact who let us interview them, he was like, hey, just come up here to the front with me, and I was at the front. But if I wasn't with him, I would have been like towards the back, stuck in a folding chair in this big conference room. But, you know, I got the perk of being one of the boys. But in Japan, that's not going to happen for me that often if I'm on my own, unless I'm doing coverage and actually reporting or doing something, not just there to enjoy the show. I'm not going to get a nice spot because I don't make that kind of money.
Yeah, but I actually recently won tickets to, or I won the privilege to pay for the tickets for the like front rows for a Hatsune Miku concert in Japan. And the difference between like it's not like from front row, but it's like the front section of the venue. And the difference between the front and the back were actually just a difference of 1,000 yen. So that was a bit strange, in my opinion.
Well, that's an interesting thing with the Japanese lottery system, is that the prices are all around the same. They tend not to go too super crazy. Where, you know, in the States, at least from my experience, if you're trying to get into something popular and the bots buy everything out first, you're going to pay an arm and a leg. And in general, the starting price is usually like every band charges this amount.
Yeah, and one of the advantages of it being Hatsune Miku is that there's, I forgot exactly how many shows in Tokyo there was, but maybe like 3 or 4. And each day has 2 shows actually, one day show and one night show. Have a digital vocalist, it's a bit easier to perform more shows. But
yeah,
of course,
she doesn't get
they're
that
playing
tired,
with but they're still playing with like a live band. So that live band, they have to have quite like what do you call it? They probably have to like cardio train or wherever to keep up.
Yeah, they gotta get their stamina up.
Exactly, because I spoke with them in the past during an interview, and they said like, yeah, they really had to keep up with Hatsune Miku for that many shows.
Yeah, I mean, again, there are alternatives. That's where I'll leave that. I mean, my bottom line is the price of everything is too damn high. But yeah, my hobbies are suffering because the price of everything is too damn high. But not as much as I think people overseas are feeling it. I'm still local, so I don't have to worry about travel expenses or things like that. It's like an extra stop on a weekend for the most part. When I go and see a show, it's not like, oh, I gotta, you know, plan to go to this city that I never go to or rarely go to. I don't plan a whole weekend around an event. It's just, oh, that's a thing that's happening. Yeah, I'll just not do this other thing instead. And this other thing is probably playing video games. So it's not a big deal for me to go to a show or not to go to a show at this point. But I do know I will be spending a lot of money when I go.
Yeah, that's actually quite nice, like mentally, just knowing that you can do it so easily. Because when I recently went to London for the DIR EN GREY stuff, that probably cost me $500 or $600 for just like a few days of stay. It was a 2-day show, so one day extra like had to be counted for.
Yeah. See, I don't, unless I'm gonna go to another prefecture that's, you know, not Saitama or Chiba, a neighboring prefecture, then I don't have to worry. And I still haven't gone to a show in a faraway place. I went to see Gungire in Chiba, and like it kind of lined up because I go to Saitama to get my hair cut, so I just went after I got my hair cut, and it was closer than if I went from home. So yeah, everything kind of always evens out. You're right. It's a whole lot less stress. I don't have to worry about all this ridiculous planning. It just works out. With that being said,
I don't.
everything works out. The price of everything's too damn high, like I said. My situation, I'm a little bit better off again than the international community because I'm here, I'm local. I don't have to spend for a hotel or whatever. And BT, seems like stuff gets expensive for you too. Nexus, you're suffering, but we are at about our time limit here. So any parting words from anyone? Any white pills we want to throw out there? Black pills are okay too, Nexus.
It's good that there's stuff happening abroad again that is not just confined to Japan. So that's good, and it's always gonna be good, even if we're all poor and shit sucks.
All right, fair enough. NBT, anything from you?
Yeah, I'm just like I've just been like during this time, not just during this podcast, but before as well, like think of how the touring in US is gonna affect like the touring in Europe. Like, is Europe gonna benefit from it, or are Europe also like in the same kind of like shitty situation currently due to like stuff like that? So I mean, music is maybe like one of the more trivial things for people when it comes to like compared to like geopolitical stuff, but like music is like one of the things that really brings joy for me. So yeah, it's a tough situation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, talking about that, like how it's trivial or not, it comes down to, you know, the age-old question, which one's more important, the doctor or the artist? And there's arguments to be made on either side. But I am of the opinion things will get better as long as the free market provides. So somebody innovate. That's what I want to see. I want to see newer things, maybe better methods of travel, teleportation. Why not? Sci-fi it up. Or these hologram shows like Miku. Why can't everyone do it? They do it for Coachella with Dead Tupac or whatever. Not to, you know, throw shade on Tupac, but like I'm saying that like they can do it. They've proven this kind of tech is there. It's expensive, but if it gets more adoption and more use and more return on the investment, it's going to be more common. And I'd like to see something like that. It's not a replacement for the real thing, but it's something there for people. The same way when we were all locked in our rooms, we were able to see some bands digitally. Like my first Deviloof performance was technically a digital one, I think, and it was just from one of their staff members recording something on a phone to like Facebook instant video. So like even something small for us people who are locked out, like something is better than nothing, and I wish we get more something instead of more nothing. But hopefully the prices figure themselves out, and hopefully people are able to keep doing what they want to doing. I've been your host, Mazo, with co-host Nexus.
Bye.
And special guest, NBT.
Rope.
All right, we will catch everyone next time. There you go.